Musibire muta, mwasibye mutya, amahoro, agandi, byaibo, habari gani, muraho, sangonini, kopango, odeo. For those of you who are wondering what that was, these are some of the various local greetings found in East Africa's diverse languages. Welcome to She Center, the female podcast, where I dive into the issues and experiences that affect women everywhere. I am your host, Resti Kansime, and I am passionate about creating a safe space for women to share their stories and triumphs. I want to thank you for tuning into my podcast, and I would love for you to join our community and stay connected with us beyond this episode. You can find us on Instagram at _SheCenter_podcast and follow us on Facebook at the She Center Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and hit that follow and like button on our social media to be part of the conversation. Hi there, welcome back to She Center, the female podcast. This is episode 4 of season 2, where we are exploring the question, are you living in your purpose? If you're new here, thank you so much for joining this community. I just want you to know that the She in She Center stands for support, heal, and empower. And that is something that I am trying to do with this podcast, where I'm using storytelling to support it and empower people, especially women in East Africa and across the world. And at the same time, I'm also trying to tell stories from women in East Africa so that they can be universal and other people out there in the world can be able to listen and learn from us. Because you're new here, you might want to go back and listen to season 1, where we answered the question, what happened to you? My guests explained how they thought that their childhood impacted the people that they are right now and how they see the world. You will love all the stories. There's so many stories with a diverse group of women in East Africa, and I think you will be able to learn a lot from it. And it is my hope that when you listen to these stories, you feel seen, heard, and understood, because that is my goal. Anyways, in today's episode, you are going to listen to a wonderful, wonderful, amazing, beautiful lady called Melissa Mulungi, popularly known as Munamasaka. I hope I said it in such a traditional way. Munamasaka. Anyways, Melissa is someone that I just got to know recently, and we haven't met personally, but I have watched her content, and she has such an amazing soul. She has a beautiful voice, and she is someone that is so down to earth. I really loved the fact that when I reached out to her and asked her to join the podcast as a guest, she didn't hesitate to do that. And it was surprising to find out that she lives in Germany as well. She is born and raised here. Anyways, a little bit about Melissa. Melissa is not only a musician, but she's also a student here in Germany. And she's also into giving back to community, as you will find out in this episode that when she was 18 years old, she started an organization. Can you imagine being 18 and thinking about other people? Anyways, you'll get to know more about this later. Melissa has a beautiful heart. From just speaking to her, I could tell that she's someone that is very honest. She is very emotionally intelligent, and she is someone you would feel very safe speaking to. She shares about how she got into music. She has loved doing this from when she was young. She shares about her love for Uganda and how she has always traveled back home and felt like she never left. And this led her to starting her content creation at the age of 15, because she was trying to make content for people who are not attending the kwanjulas, the introductions. If you live abroad, you know that when an event is going on, you want to know what's happening. Guys, please, WhatsApp status, Instagram, the FOMO is real. If you've lived abroad, you would know that. But Melissa helped people back home by starting out at the age of 15. Meanwhile, she started a YouTube channel where she was posting all these events so that people who are not attending could be able to attend and watch everything, and eventually turned out to be a passion of hers. And you can check her out on YouTube. You can listen to her music. I've been listening to it. She has such an amazing voice, and I hope to listen to more of her music coming up. So stay tuned until the end because Melissa has so much wisdom that she's going to share with us. And I believe that we can all learn from her purpose because as she shares, purpose is something for her that is fluid. It moves in different seasons. And she believes that in every season of her life, everything that she is doing, everything that she is, there is a purpose. So let's listen to Melissa. Munamasaka. Melissa, how are you doing?
Hello, Rusty. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's really, really great to have you here.
Thank
And it's
you.
interesting that I actually got to hear about you
Mm-hmm.
this week, which was very interesting. So, in most cases, when I talk to people on the podcast, it's because I've like researched them and like
Yes.
I reach out or it's my relative who I know everything about. So I'm very
Mm-hmm.
super, super excited that I'm getting to speak to someone who I don't really know that much
Yeah.
about. Yeah, so that's something that I'm very excited about. So to just introduce to you She Center, since you also didn't know anything about it,
Mm-hmm.
I am planning to build, not planning, I'm in the process. I'm close to the end to build a female platform back home in East
Mm-hmm.
Africa. And the female platform was inspired by, um, I would say, everything that happened to me, like my experiences, and in finding myself and discovering who I am, I
Mm-hmm.
realized, there's a lot of things ever since I like was a baby until I grew up, and then my studies here in Germany and how the system is built up
Yeah.
and how everything is digital. I'm like, why is it that back home we don't have like a space where you can go and find everything? Like literally when you Google stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Instagram shows up. There's not that many blogs talking about things that we're going through. You'd find you're Googling about something and
Something
NHS
else.
is showing up, America is showing up. So I figured that there's a need for a platform
Mm-hmm.
where, you can go and find stuff that you need, not just to go on YouTube and watch people's YouTube videos and go
Yeah.
on Instagram. So I figured to explain this to people
Mm-hmm.
requires for me to maybe start by slowly talking about it because some people are like, we don't get that stuff. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
go to Instagram, we go to YouTube. So I'm like, okay, I will start a podcast. And then on this podcast, I will show you the different things women are going through. So last year is when I started. And I asked the question, what happened to you? So
Mm-hmm.
in this question, people were talking about their life stories, like how they think their childhood has impacted who they are. And I feel like right now I need to kind of like skip into the future and find
Mm-hmm.
out from different women who are doing different things in society. And that could be your mom, your house girl, your
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is you're doing, as long as it's impactful in the
Yeah.
society. I want to find out, like, is it your purpose? Is it
Mm-hmm.
like how are you navigating your purpose as a woman in
Yeah.
Uganda, and how has, digitally, how are you managing that? So I did go into like a deep dive into your content. Thank you, by the way, for the recent video. I think you made it long time ago about winter. There's some stuff that I need to buy.
Yes.
Yes.
I
So
went.
I see that you're someone who is not only into fashion, you love music, you express yourself through art.
Yeah.
And that's something that I find very intriguing because I've talked to a few people who are artists and everyone always has their story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you what happened to you, but I'm going to ask, are you living in your purpose? And the main question,
Yeah.
that's the main question, but to break it down, my first question would be, just give me a second to pull it up. Okay. Do you feel that you're living in your purpose right now? And how has your journey shaped this sense of purpose for you?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that is a very big question. I feel like it's a very big question. I think purpose to me personally is something that evolves and goes along as I continue living life. I do
Mm,
think I have a very good idea of what my purpose is.
mm,
Just background story, because I am a Christian woman, and I grew up in church. And so I feel like that part of me definitely helped me understand what my purpose on earth is. I believe that everyone has a God-given purpose on
yeah.
this earth, and I believe that yeah, for everyone it can be different, it can look different.
Mm,
And yeah, so I feel like I've been exposed to my purpose from a very young age. So
mm,
growing up in church, I started singing when I was about 3 years old.
Good.
So yeah, in the kids choir. So music is definitely a part of my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy just expressing myself through music. I believe
Yeah.
that the songs that I have put out so far and written are very relatable.
Mm.
So it's one way I like to express myself and just share my gift with the world, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, that besides that, I definitely think that being some sort of leader must be part of my purpose.
Mm.
Ever since I started school at 5 years old. I was born in Germany, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I started going to school at the age of 5. And from the age of 5 up until I finished school, which would be equivalent to A level, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
I have always been the class representative and the school representative,
Oh, nice.
which is, I think in Uganda, it's called prefect or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so here in Germany
True.
we say Schülersprecherin or
Yeah.
Klassensprecherin.
Yeah.
So yeah, ever since I have been in school, and I've been to one, two, three different schools. So my
Mm-hmm.
primary school, then middle, and then where I did my A level, which is Abitur.
Mm.
And yeah, in all schools, I happen to always been voted the class and
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah, representative. So I
Mm.
definitely think that I was meant to lead in some sort of form.
Yeah.
Um, Besides that, I started when I finished school at 18, I founded my own charity organization, which was
Mm.
called Children Health Empowerment and Care.
Mm.
And that just came from my parents. Like, I was blessed enough to travel back home every year,
Mm.
like at least twice. And my parents just exposed me to, their villages where they grew up from, these different
Yeah.
schools. And I always had that comparison of being born
Yeah.
and living in Germany and then
Yes.
going back home and seeing how
Mhm.
different it is. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just felt like I could resonate in a way because these young pupils reminded me of myself because they look
Yeah.
like me.
Yes.
Which here in Germany, I've always been the only black girl in class, or like we were
Yeah.
maybe five black people in school. So I didn't
Mm.
really have that representation.
Mm.
So yeah, I just saw them and I felt like, that could have easily
That
been
could
me.
have
So
been
I
you.
had a
Yeah.
very strong desire of helping.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely helping people is part of my purpose. And yeah, my friends call me their therapist. I feel like
Yes.
I'm a magnet for just
Mm.
yeah, giving advice. Maybe my father and my older brother are both psychiatrists, so we
Oh.
have a lot of conversations as well.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
Yes.
I'm just very intrigued by like the mind
Mm.
and human beings, and I'm a people's
Mm.
person. I love to have, conversations and share
Yeah.
my experiences and learn about people and their experiences. So, yeah, I definitely feel like those are all parts of
Yeah.
my purpose on earth. But like I said, I feel like purpose definitely evolves as the time goes on.
True.
I feel
True.
like
Yeah.
now I'm in a phase in my life, to answer your question, where I'm aware of what my purpose is, but I don't feel like I'm fully living out my full potential, which
Mm.
is something I've been dealing with myself, to just get back to that ambitious and determined person that I was,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
just juggling so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even creating the charity organization, I was 18, and
Mm-hmm.
that's quite a young age for someone to say, I'm a CEO.
Yeah. I
And
know,
a
right?
lot of banks didn't take me seriously registering it. Like, it was so, but I was so determined, and I
Mm-hmm.
knew that
Mm-hmm.
that's something I wanted to do. So I just went for
Yeah.
it. Whereby
Mm.
now I feel like I'm a bit more reluctant and just going with the flow and how life is. Maybe COVID had an impact as well. I don't know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But yeah.
I like that. I like that you have, when I started out with this question, because to be honest, I kind of like stumbled into this idea of asking people about their purpose because I
Yeah.
figured I was just going to continue with what happened to you. I did read the book, it's right here. I read
Hmm.
the book, What Happened to You, oh, down here.
Hmm.
And I felt like it really made so much sense. Like you said, like, there is perspective in you having the opportunity to live
Mhm.
both worlds. And for me, like, I realized that what I used to see as a disadvantage about my life, like, you know how, like, when I was growing up, I used to go to the village. Like, my mom would send us to the village.
Yeah.
And my life was just full of admiring people who stayed in Kampala, because when I went back to boarding school, everyone was talking about
Talking
Didi's World.
about
I'm like, guys, what's that?
never been.
Yes, like I want to go to Didi's, but in the village, we're just about
Mhm.
collecting what and what. And I always saw it as a disadvantage. Like
Mhm.
I'm at a disadvantage, and I hated going to the village. My grandma was
Mhm.
like, "Why do you keep bringing this girl here? She
She'd
clearly
hate
doesn't
it
like
here.
being here."
Yeah.
And then when I would go into the city, I had the advantage of staying, like, because my mom moved here when she was when I was 13.
Okay.
And before that, she was a single mom. Her and my dad separated, so I had to live with different people, and that
Mm.
allowed me to live with, like, people who are, like, who literally have, like, nothing, and
Mhm.
then people who have a lot.
A lot of
And somehow that made me, I until I was 30, when I sat down, I was like, God, why did all these things happen to me? I was
Mhm.
like, there is something unique about me,
Yeah.
because in many cases, like, I could be talking to someone who is, like, rich, and
Upscale.
I'll
Yeah.
feel no intimidation, and I would be
Mhm.
talking to someone on the low, and I
And
would
still
fit
be
in so
happy.
well.
Yeah.
So I started to not see it as a disadvantage, but to start realizing, oh my God, like, I have this superpower that is, I have lived all worlds.
Yeah.
And so in discovering who I am, I started to realize all these things that are a disadvantage, that I see as a disadvantage, they're an
Mhm.
opportunity for me to do something. And then, like you, I started to realize, okay, that's why I'm so drawn to speaking to people. That's why I'm so
Yeah.
drawn to helping people who are back there, because my mom was a single mom. I have many relatives whose parents separated, and their life did not turn out like mine. Like, they ended up in a really worse off situation. And right now, when I look at them, I, like you, I said, this could have been me, this, I could have been the one in this situation. So
Yeah.
I like that, in discovering that. I don't know for you if it has kind of, like, added up to something,
Same
because for
thing.
me, I had that aha moment of, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm supposed to do. Like, I need to, because I'm really drawn to women. Like, even in a movie,
Yeah.
like, every time I'm doing something, I'm like, it's the woman. Like, I support
Yeah.
her, whatever is happening. So I
Yeah.
figured, raised by a single mom, and the
Mhm.
majority of people who raised me were women. Like,
Women. Yeah.
women literally sacrificed their homes for me to live in them. So I was like, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. So I'm like, the most people who I feel more drawn to are people who are women. And I don't want anyone to be where my mom was. I don't want anyone to be where I was as a child, growing up, moving from home to home. That was something that I've heard traumatizes people in such a terrible way. And like you, I guess my faith also helped so much. So when I kind of, like, added up everything, faith and poverty and
Yeah.
everything, I was like, maybe there's somewhere that where we can all go and
Yeah.
collect as a collective, and
Collective.
figure out life. As you're
Yeah.
rich, you're poor, let's take all these things that divide us away and come together as women and see how we can move forward. So for you, I guess what I want to ask is, like, for you, has there been that one thing where you feel like all your gifts and everything about you come together? Like, do you ever feel there is somewhere where you feel like you're using the whole of you
Mhm.
to do something meaningful?
Yeah. I feel like I'm very like multifaceted. So I don't think there's one way
What?
where I
Mhm,
fully show up. Of course, everything that has happened in life, all my experiences have
mm.
shaped me. I feel like
Yes, yes.
they have equipped me, like just
Mm,
like you said, to just deal
mm,
with different people of different walks of life, or
mm, mm,
um, deal with situations in different ways. Because I mean, I'm very extremely grateful and blessed. Not saying that my life has been perfect, because sometimes the idea of someone growing up abroad in like a first world
mm.
country like
Yeah.
Germany that is quite stable,
Mm.
people assume that your life has just been,
Yeah,
roses and
you're in
butterflies.
heaven.
Exactly. Which is
Yes.
not the case, especially for foreigners, especially as a black family. As much as
Yeah.
my dad is a doctor, he also,
Mm,
starting off, they didn't want to give him a job. He started studying medicine in Uganda and had to come to Germany and study again. So it's
mm,
so many things that people don't really account for. But my family is really one place or one thing, if I can say, that has
mm.
impacted me a lot. My
Mm.
heritage, my culture, my family, because first of all, I'm a very proud Munamasaka.
I
Um,
saw
I'm,
that.
I'm from Masaka, and my parents both, come from villages,
Mm.
and just that lifestyle is very
Yeah.
humbling to see. But at the same time, I have family members who are very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very, very broad and very big family.
Mm-hmm.
So that, but then also religion-wise, as much as I'm Christian, for example, my
Mm-hmm.
family on my mother's side, her mom, for
Mm-hmm.
example, is Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
and her dad
Yes.
was Christian. Then
Yeah.
on my dad's side,
Yeah.
they're Christians, but half of the side of that family is Muslim as well. So I always
Mm.
grew up with different people, and I
Mm.
was just automatically taught to be tolerant with
Yes.
whatever is at hand. So
Yeah.
whether it being, family members that are not so well off, the ones that are well off, we would
Mm-hmm.
come together.
Mm-hmm.
If it's
Mm-hmm.
Christmas, all our Muslim family comes and we do Christmas. If
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
Eid, I go and I cover up and we go, and do Eid, or we go to the mosque. Like that's just how I grew up. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that has definitely helped me so much
Mm-hmm.
in just living life, dealing with different people.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when it comes to conditions, I've told this story before, but my late uncle, he passed away 2 years ago. Was my dad's brother, and he was like my best friend. But he had an alcohol problem. He was an alcoholic. So he would, whenever I'd go to the village, no matter what he looked like, how if he's
Yeah.
showered or not, whatever it
Yeah.
was, I would always move around with him. My charity stuff and everything, he was always by my side. And so a lot of times he would take me to like, the people around the village where he would take his alcohol, where they would sit and mingle. And
Yeah.
from the outside looking, you would think these are just drunkards. Like
Mm.
they just, they don't.
Yes. They
But
don't
I
know.
would
Yeah.
sit and have
Yes.
conversations. Obviously, I know my uncle, for example, he was an artist. He was so talented. Like the
Mm.
pictures that he drew and all of this abstract art, which people, when they would visit us and say, yeah, we would say that was my uncle, they would be like, there's no way. He was so
Mm.
talented in that.
Yeah.
But even his friends that were alcoholics, they were doctors, lawyers, engineers, all of these people. So I
Yeah.
would have these conversations, and people would walk past or see us and think, this girl, like, what is she even doing with these people?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
me, that is actually having open conversations with them, I'm like, wow, like everyone
Yes.
has a story, everyone went through something, and maybe it got them to
Mm.
that point, or,
Yes. 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 Yes.
childhood traumas, or
Mm.
just unfortunate circumstances that led up to this point. But yeah, I definitely feel like all of those things helped
Mm-hmm.
shape me
Person that you are.
in the
Yeah.
person
Yeah.
that I am today and how I deal with life and with people.
That's such an amazing experience. I don't know if you've ever shared that here in Germany. I'm guessing people will be like, "What?" This
Yeah.
one time I was telling my story, and this lady was like, "The hair on my
Goosebumps.
like body is like I have goosebumps. Like my hair is standing up just hearing you talk and how passionate you are about it." And
Yeah.
I guess it requires you to experience something because there's so many people who say, "Yeah, I want to help people," and they
Yeah.
don't know anything about it. And then when they come in, they just want to be like, I want to take away your alcoholism and all this. But if you
Hmm.
actually sit down and talk to this person, you realize
Understand.
they're way smarter than you, first
Yeah.
of all.
Yeah.
And secondly, they are the solution. They just need support to help them to do
Yes.
that. And I guess that's why in the first season of my podcast, I asked what happened to you because I
Hmm.
felt like I personally have been judged. I went through bullying in high school and I felt
Hmm.
like, like at some point when I was a teenager, I was like, not teenager, young adult, I was like, my name should be misunderstood. Like I felt like when I'm hanging with this group of friends, they don't understand me. When I'm
Yeah.
hanging with this group of friends, like I felt like there was no one place, like there were rarely people I would meet who could
Mm.
relate to the whole of me.
Of you.
Yeah, and I felt like maybe because I'm going through this, everyone should be going through this. And if you
Hmm.
ask them what happened to you, and many people I brought into the podcast who share something like, I hadn't even thought about how this and this are connected.
Connected.
And
Yeah.
they'll be like, oh my God, yes, this and this and this have added up to who I am right now.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there are people, even my own family members, who came
Hmm.
into the podcast and literally my jaw would drop. I'll be like, you went through what? Like I
Yeah.
have an auntie who shared how she was sexually abused
Oh
by
God.
our uncle. And I was like, first of all, I'm angry. And
Mm,
then secondly, how did I not know this?
know that.
And this is someone who is like vibrant
Mm,
music, like she's like a rowdy, like
polyglot
that like, but I've always been drawn to her. And when she shared this, I had to first of all say, I'm really sorry, because
story.
I have judged you based on what
Mhm,
society was telling me your life is like. But this is a person who is so smart. Like when I talk to her, I'm
mhm.
always like, are you sure you stopped in senior four? Because girl, this knowledge
Oh,
is
yeah.
much bigger. Like she reads a lot. She's so theoretical. Like she practices a lot of things that are for people who did PhD. And yet, many people look down on her, and they
Mhm,
think they're better than her. So
mm,
it's something that I realize that when we sit down and talk to people and get to know their stories, it opens up our minds and helps us to understand
definitely.
so much about the world. It like you would never you would never go around and look at someone who is a drunkard and just think, nah, they gave up on life. You
Yeah,
have to realize, no, something happened that got them
there's a
there.
story
Yeah,
behind. Yeah.
that's quite interesting. Did you ever first of all, is your organization still like running?
I'd want to say it's on a break at the
Mm-hmm.
moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Once COVID hit, we just went into survival mode. So everyone that was under the organization, it was just
Mm-hmm.
about people surviving,
Yeah,
basically.
true, true.
And then after that, I also just went through a lot privately. So
Mm.
yeah, but I'm definitely it's my little baby. I definitely
Yeah.
want to relaunch it and just
Yeah.
build a team and yeah, get back to it. Yeah, like I
Mm.
said, it's part of my purpose, and I believe
Yeah.
when God gives you a purpose, whenever it has to happen, it will
It has
happen.
to happen,
So
yeah. Whatever
yes.
happens, yes. And what exactly were you doing? Was it centering on children, on
Yeah,
any particular
definitely
demographic?
children. It was meant to be sustainable help. So here in Germany, we have a sentence that says Hilfe zur Selbsthilfe. So
Mm.
helping, but for people to be able to help themselves, ideally.
Mm.
I
Mm.
didn't want to create any form of dependency.
Mhm, mhm,
Um, but yeah, it was so interesting because even then, I remember when I started it, I had a whole different idea, which
mhm,
is going back to the point that we both made of it's important to have conversations with people, and we
mhm, mhm,
sometimes judge and we don't really know what people go through, what they need, because my 17-year-old self said, "Oh, you know what? I want to do this charity thing. I want to go back home and maybe like help out with computer literacy and stuff like that because I
mm,
felt like
mm.
here we were so
No,
forward
yes.
in terms of technology
Yeah,
and all of these things and I'm like
yeah.
maybe we can get computers and teach them how to and I had all of these ideas until
Mm,
I
mm.
went on ground and went to these schools and I had conversations with the pupils and with the teachers, and I
Yeah,
realized basic needs like food is not there. And I said,
yeah.
it does not make sense for me to bring computers when the kids don't even have food. They can actually not even concentrate to their
Yes.
full potential.
Mm,
There's so
mhm.
many other things that they have on their mind, scholastic materials. How am I going
Yes.
to now, just bring computers and teach them about
Yes,
how
yes.
when they have the basic needs are not there?
Mm,
So yeah, so we threw that plan out of the window and yeah we started like buying gardening tools because fortunately enough the land would be there in most cases so we would
mm,
grow foods for example and they would
mm.
also include it into their curriculum so like the farming bit of it. So the kids had learning by doing in terms of they're learning how to farm, they're learning a skill, and at the same time they're being provided with a basic need, which is food.
Yeah.
We also did a project that was called Education. So we had
Mm,
chicken, we did some a poetry project. So yeah, things like that, reusable sanitary pads for
mm,
the girls especially. Yeah, so different projects like
mm.
that.
That sounds amazing. And I think in many cases, every person who starts out a project, they always think like, I have an idea. This is
Yeah,
what we're gonna do. And then you
yeah,
get there and God is like, no,
reality
I
hits.
just wanted
Yep,
you to get here so I can show you what you really
what
have to
the
do.
needs.
And
Yeah.
you're right, you're right. I was working for a project before I came here for studies, and it was
Mm-hmm.
a USAID based, like funded project.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to go to different schools, like in remote villages, and you would go
Mm-hmm.
into a class on a rainy day, and the class is empty. So the
Yeah.
teacher was explaining to us that on a rainy day, the kids, the younger kids, like 1 to 7 years old, their
Uh,
mothers are going into the farm to dig. So they need to
the kids to help.
they need the kids to help them with their other babies. And I was like, we were coming with this whole, Kapala perspective of, why are
Yeah.
you not in school? Education is
Yeah.
important. And the teacher is
Mm-hmm.
like, people have to eat, you
Yeah.
know? These
Yeah.
guys have to eat. They need food. They, like, education right now is like a far
Is
off, like, you are in the
not the
society,
top
probably
priority.
like there's like one person who even made it to secondary school. So you're trying to
Mhm.
tell me that I should not eat because my child is going to finish
School.
P7 and do what?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it was something that opened my eyes to realize that in many cases we come in with this idea of, yes, I want to help, but it's very important for you to first really understand what's on ground, because you cannot
Mm-hmm.
come, like, it's like preachers. You can't come and preach to someone about, yeah, and the person is hungry.
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what exactly is your message doing? Like, their reality doesn't match up with what you're
With what
telling them,
you,
so you need
yeah.
to first feed them for you to be
Mm-hmm.
able to tell them all this
Tell
stuff. And I
them
like that. I hope that you can put it back up. But normally I realize that every time you take a step back from something, you always come back stronger, because
stronger.
you have more perspective and more understanding of some of these things that you might have missed out, and how to
Yeah.
approach them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted
Thank
to also
you.
ask, let me see, what kind of challenges or obstacles have you faced in living out your purpose? Like, okay, the different parts of your purpose. What
Yeah.
kind of challenges have you faced? Since in your case, it's not one.
Yeah. Ooh, how do I best? I would definitely say, in music,
Mm,
um, yeah, I think let me do it in categories. In music, I feel like the challenge is or has been navigating how to how to go about it, because I mainly record music when I'm in Uganda, and I was fortunate
mhm,
enough that I had a lot of people around me, like friends that are producers, that are artists, who
mm,
availed me to like just utilize their gifts and their talents and their
yeah.
studios. So I actually personally have not invested money into my music.
Mm,
But I do believe that if you want to take it to
the
bigger
next.
levels and
Yeah.
steps, it does
Yeah.
need more time,
Mm,
monetary investment
mhm.
management, which I also don't have. I'm literally just doing it on my own, just for the
Yeah.
sake
Yeah.
of. So yeah, definitely that is one part, just navigating the industry and what is needed and the time and finances. So yeah, that has been a challenge in fulfilling that.
Mm.
Um, Education wise, I'm a full-time student. I'm studying health economics, which
Mhm.
has taken me longer than it should have. But yeah, so there I've also just faced challenges. I feel like with education, my main challenge in not being, haven't been able to fulfill that purpose is
Mm.
me being so multifaceted, because my mind is just in so
All over
many
the
different
place.
paths. And I feel like
Yeah.
education does need some sort of like focus.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm just now getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I need to actually prioritize
Yeah.
education and finish that, and then I can get into something else. But
Yeah.
I was just so used to doing so many things at once,
Mm-hmm.
and having the freedom to do that. And I think now I'm at a point in time where I'm old enough and I have to just, set priorities and
Mm-hmm.
prioritize
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in terms of education, that's definitely been a challenge. Um, in terms of just me being, should I say, my friends like therapist or just impacting people's lives
Yeah.
positively, I'm
Yeah.
very much an empath, and
Mm,
I've always been able to handle my side of things very well, because I try to self-reflect a lot.
mm,
But I think now just at a point where I'm trying to find the balance in not letting me showing up in my purpose drain
Yeah.
me in my
Mm-hmm.
personal life with
Mm-hmm.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
And just, yeah, acknowledging that. I think in general, just growing older and having an idea of how life you want your life to be, and then
Yeah.
getting to a certain age and realizing, oh, it's actually not how I pictured it.
Yes.
But which is not a bad thing, but it's just accepting that and then
Mm,
navigating through that.
mm,
So yeah, I think that realization definitely, and yeah, also in terms of the content that I create, I've not lately not really felt so inspired to
mhm.
do that,
Yeah.
which is I think also a normal thing that everyone goes through at some point. You feel like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
you're not as inspired as you used to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to put in the work to center myself again and yeah, just find that light, that fire that I used to have
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed sharing content. Like I would vlog so much, and a lot of people that maybe don't get the chance to travel back home as often as I did, or
Mm-hmm.
um, that are just intrigued in like seeing Uganda and how
Mm-hmm.
life is
Yes.
out there and just the
Yeah.
dynamics of me, my family, and things like that. So I've always loved sharing that because I think I started my YouTube channel when I was about 15 years old or something, and I'm now
Wow.
27. So it's been
Mm,
20
yeah.
years. And
Wow. That's a
initially,
long time.
yeah,
Yeah.
and initially, it was really just me sharing on a platform for my family because we would have prayers or birthdays or
Mm.
mandulas or weddings, things like that, and they wouldn't be able to attend. So I would record it. Instead of sending
Ah,
it to every family member, I would just edit and
put it
upload
on a
it.
video. Oh, that's
Exactly. That's,
interesting. That's good.
yeah, so that everyone can kind of have like a part of,
Yes.
be a part of what the family is up to.
Mm.
And then, yeah, obviously it's an open platform, so other people started finding the content,
That's
and yeah, that's
interesting.
how that
That's
started.
quite interesting. At 15, okay, we didn't even like you had to go to a computer library to to use the
Yeah,
internet back home. But
yeah,
I love that. I like that it's something that you did that was fun and it kind of turned into something that you actually like were like, oh, actually, I didn't know that I'm actually helping people with this because
yeah.
it's like you said, being a leader, that means you have the gift of influence,
Mm,
in many cases. If there's people everywhere who keep recognizing you can lead us, you can lead us, that means they're influenced by what you do. And in many
yeah.
cases people shy away from this. They kind of be like, oh no, I have nothing to give to this world, or I have
Hmm.
nothing to give. But you doing what you love to do kind of
Hmm.
goes into
Into
that
it.
leadership part of it. So
Yeah.
that's really amazing. Yes, I wanted to ask, you mentioned your dad is a psychiatrist. Has
Yes.
that played a huge role in your life? Because man, what I wouldn't give to live in a house with someone who can tell me what I'm feeling
Most
and how to navigate my emotions.
Yeah, most
How?
definitely. I mean, to be honest,
Mhm.
my dad, naturally, his character, he's very open. Like, I could just always talk to him about anything.
Mm,
My father definitely played a very big role in terms of the confidence that I have, the self-confidence.
mhm,
Like from a
mm,
very young age, he would tell me about like affirmations. He would tell me, look in
mm.
the mirror and tell yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm intelligent. And I think that,
Wow.
especially as a young black girl in Germany with no one that looks like you around you, for
Yes.
me to have been able to still be like picked out as class representative and things like that. It's that confidence that I
It is.
had,
Yes,
which I
yes.
definitely think my dad helped with. As much as I do have to say that he's very good at separating his work and his
Mm,
personal life.
mhm,
So
mhm.
there's also some times where I'm just like, Dad, you should be able to understand what I'm going through right now. And he's avoiding because I think the job really requires so much out of
Yes,
you that
yes,
you
yes.
can't show up in that way in every aspect of your life.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
definitely. it has definitely shaped me.
Mhm.
And every time we speak, he's always like, "I think you were supposed to also be in this profession." Um,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
because
Yeah,
I
that's
just
really amazing. I love
yeah,
that. And you shared that because my family, I have a lot of family here, and I do have
yeah,
a lot of nieces. I have my nieces, my sister and my brother, they grew up here. My sister is also
mhm.
now into music. She's kind of all over the place. I just
Nice.
sorted yesterday she had a show. She's in Vienna, and
Oh
I'm like,
wow.
okay. Yeah, so she was studying biochemistry and now she's into music, and then she
Mm,
got a job as an air hostess, and I'm like, yo, talent is all over the place in your head.
yeah,
You need to choose. But I'm like, you know what? Your 20s are for discovering.
definitely.
Luckily, you're not in a country which limits you. Because back
Limits you,
home, yo, no one is gonna sit down and watch you throw your life
live
away
out
trying to
all
like,
of
I'm
the.
trying here, I'm trying here. But
Hmm.
what I was telling like my mom, because she was worried, she's like, oh, she stopped, she's not doing her course. She was in her last year. And I'm
Mm,
like, maybe that's not what she's supposed to do. And she can always go back. Thank God no one in Germany cares if you studied university or not. Like,
yeah,
like you did gymnasium, phew, you're the
good.
best. That's it. Stop there, do what you want to do, and then
Yeah,
you can always go back. So I
back
like
to.
that. And the fact that you shared that you were the only black kid, my sister goes through some things sometimes where I would always feel like I understand her, like I know her as her bigger sister,
Hmm.
until I came here and I was the only black kid in
Mm,
my master's program. I was like, oh my God, like the whole of Africa is laying on me. Like I
yeah.
had so much pressure to please, to not be, to
Hmm.
listen to people tell me how Africa is like nothing. And for me to always like defend and then other people who don't understand. I felt like I was always explaining myself
Yeah.
in one way or another. Like you're on a train station and there's this one time this old lady looked at me like I was like, what
What
have I
is
done?
it?
Like I was
Yeah.
like, is there something on my face? I'm like, is she just being racist? In America,
Hmm.
you definitely blow out and start blasting at this person.
Yeah.
And later on, I was like, I thought I could do this first, like eye contact with her, but she
Hmm.
won. Like I was like, I can't do this. I'm
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So eventually she looked at me and she said, how long did it take to do your hair?
Yeah.
So this is what she was trying to figure out the whole time. Here I was thinking, this chick is being racist, this person is doing
Yeah.
this, but just to be in a train and just someone have that look at you and for you to immediately think, is she thinking about me in a
Yeah.
negative way or positive way? I can only imagine. Like that must come with its own special kind of experience for you
Definitely.
to relate to people in this world, to know that I have not only been the one, but I
Hmm.
have stood out. Like they have considered me their leader, but
Hmm.
also in addition to that, I have survived.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law used to always tell people like, I will beat you up. I grew up in Germany. You do not know what I've been through. She's like, I grew up in a small town in Germany at the peak of racism.
Yeah.
I
I
am
had to
aggressive.
defend
She was
myself.
always like, yeah. So she's like she is the way. And I always felt like I understood her because of that. So I don't know how that is for people, but I think I went through that as an adult, but I can
Hmm.
only imagine how that is. But I guess it's also helpful that the person that you who has raised you is kind of like emotionally aware of
Yeah.
what's happening around you, because there are some people who do not know how that environment could affect a child. And like you said, for you to grow up and be this confident person, that's literally what I was really trying to show people in the first season. Like, what happened to you? You look at
Hmm.
someone and you're like, why are they so confident? Like, they
Yeah.
probably show off. They're
Yeah.
probably, they have never seen problems in their lives. They're this. But you have to know that many people who had this father affirmation, like father figure affirmation and encouragement, many of them were saying like, yo, my dad, like, I don't know if you know Prim. She's like an influencer in Uganda, Primrose.
And
Yeah, she's like Rusty. When I was growing up, my dad would tell me, you're the most beautiful girl. Like, in fact, hide yourself.
yeah.
People should not see how beautiful you
There
are
you
because
are.
they're gonna get. And she is confident. Like, I always used to wonder, like, how much confidence can someone have?
Yeah.
And then when she said it, I was like, that makes so much sense, because if your dad tells you something when you're growing up, like
Yeah.
that's it. No one else is gonna convince you otherwise. You're
Anyone.
walking to
Yeah.
the world with your head high,
Yeah.
telling people. And see, the thing is, like, other people see, like they feel our negative energy, what we feel
Definitely.
about ourselves. And I'm
Yeah.
guessing when you went into a class, people would be like, oh, there she is. The
Yeah.
superpower is walking into the room. Be aware. And I love that.
Definitely.
I love that. I wish I'd had that as a child. I
Yeah.
felt like for me, I had it, but then when I would go to school, it would be taken away. So I kind
Mm.
of, I'm in the middle because I had this, my auntie who I told you about earlier, like she was like you have to put your head high, you have to do
Yeah.
this. And then I went to single boarding school where they would tell us, as a lady, you were this and this. And then
Hmm.
I went into a mixed school where there were boys, and all that like was like, okay, this does not apply here.
Yeah.
Because here people are like, you're stealing my boyfriend, you
Yeah.
are trying to like, why are you wearing lip gloss? Are you trying to do
Hmm.
like, I started to find myself feeling like, okay, maybe I don't need to be too confident because it's
Yeah. Like
scaring
trying
other
to
people.
fit
So
into.
navigating that was so like, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because for me, I felt like navigating that season of my life, even up to now, there's always that moment where I feel like, maybe I shouldn't like maybe I shouldn't like dress up like this. But for you to show up as who you are, that's something that's amazing. And
Yeah.
I guess this leads me to my last question.
Hmm.
So when you think about online platforms that we have here,
Yeah.
I always tell people about them, and I feel like you might get it more. So we have like Dr. Lee, Treat Well, we have,
Hmm.
all these therapy group, whatever. It's like practically everything you need, there's one stop center for it
Yes.
somewhere. And in your experience, based on the fact that, for instance, you go back home, do you ever find that challenging? Like you're like, okay, now I have to like do word of mouth. Okay, guys, where can I go to do my hair? Let's go on Instagram. Let me ask everyone, what do you think? And also, how do you think a platform, like a female platform like She Center, that will have everything that a woman needs, how do you think something like that could be able to help women who are
Hmm.
living back home, in your experience from living in a country where this is like available to you?
Yeah. I think to answer the first question, the question of if I find it challenging whenever I go back home, I
Mm,
personally, because again, I've been able to travel back home very often and I have a very
mhm,
big family and I have people in like different places.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I usually know who to go to when I need something or when I
Yeah.
need to know something or when I need
A
to
guy for everything.
exactly get something
Yes.
done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes it much easier for me
Mm,
in my position. But I've realized with creating the content that I do, the vlogs and stuff like that, that a
mm,
lot of people who travel back home don't have that. So
mm,
they look at my content and they're like, "Oh, where did you get your facial done? Or where did you do your
mhm,
hair? Or where?"
mhm. Yeah.
And then they
Yeah.
start going to those
Recommending.
places.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So I
Mm,
definitely think that a platform like that would be great. First of all, I love how it's centered around women. I
mhm,
think that in our country, the woman has like been so traditional and old school
mhm,
in terms of, be a mother, be a housewife, and things like
mhm,
that. But I
mhm,
think there's so many women who have turned into entrepreneurs in Uganda, very
mhm,
hardworking. Even the mothers, the housewives that we have,
mhm.
the
Yeah.
majority of the normal Ugandan family, a woman is working. She is
Yes.
selling in the market or she's, they
Mhm.
are putting in the work. They're actually doing
Yeah.
so
A
much
lot. So much more.
more
I
than
know.
the
They're not,
men.
they're taken for granted,
Yeah,
definitely.
they're doing
Yeah.
so much more than the men because they're the nurse, they're
Mhm.
bringing food, they're doing this.
Yes, that's why I was telling people, I was like, because someone was like, okay, what if a man comes and starts the same platform? Like, yo, we run Kampala. Like, women are the ones who know where the doctor is. They are the ones who
Yeah,
know. Like, we are the managers of every home. So,
definitely.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I'm glad that you put it that way.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
also in terms of, just how the world is moving, digitalization
Mm-hmm.
is a
Mm-hmm.
thing,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
we're moving into that direction. I do think that Uganda, of course, I always call Uganda a virgin country because there's so much
Mm-hmm.
that we haven't, um,
Potential. Yeah.
yeah,
We have
there's
so
so
much
much
potential.
potential, so much we haven't
Yeah.
seen yet. But I've realized so much with the younger generation that there's hunger and people are so oh my goodness, so
Yo.
innovative, so
You could be
intelligent.
thinking of something and tomorrow someone has started
Has
exactly that.
is
Yes, yes,
incredible. So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's just literally having like a platform like that where someone
Mhm.
can live out their potential and actually,
Yes.
have these opportunities. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely think it would be great to just have a place, a
Mhm.
one-stop shop, if you want to
Mhm.
call it.
Yes. Yeah.
And then at the same time, just encouraging women,
Mhm. Mhm.
and yeah, at the same time, also that togetherness, because sometimes women are put in that whole picture of, oh, women are bitchy and they don't get along and whatnot.
Competition and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that definitely. And then also for the women who don't live in East Africa but are traveling too,
To
will
East Africa,
also have it
exactly. Be
easier
able
to
to benefit.
find,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's true.
different the
That's true.
different needs
Yeah.
that they have. So
Yeah.
I think it's incredible that you're
It's
doing that.
it's amazing because like I haven't even told you like my vision, and you just
Yeah.
simply explained like everything that I plan to do. But while I have spoken to someone in Canada, I have spoken
Hmm.
to someone in Uganda, and they didn't get it. Like they were
Hmm.
like, huh? What is
Hmm.
it gonna do? Like, how is it beneficial? And I'm like, I almost kind of like lost it. My auntie was like, there's enough people planning female platform and stuff. Focus on your PhD and stuff. I'm like, I'm like, it's okay. That will come in the future. Like education is not everything, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that you are able to get it because you're someone who has experienced how beneficial
It
online
can.
platforms can be. And to be honest, I feel like being equipped is not, or like we sit down and blame the government at Yambe, blah blah blah, but in many cases, man, the solution is amongst us. Like
Yeah.
right now we are seeing like we have influencers teaching us stuff that we didn't learn in school.
So,
Like I've seen so many teachers quitting. Okay, they are probably quitting their school teaching and their academics, and they're
hmm.
going online to post content, and they are making much more money and getting more recognition from
Yeah.
it because they're being taken for granted in the classrooms where
Yeah.
they are, because
Yeah.
they're limited. Like there's no creativity in classes.
Yeah.
There's something like that. So
Agree.
definitely I was doing research, and I've realized that like even in the recent what's that thing called, like the census, that
Hmm.
that first of all, we are really a young country. Like over 50% of people are like under the age of 30, and in
Yep.
addition to that, like almost like majority, like I have some people back home in the village who have phones, and you find their TikTok lit, and you're
Hmm.
like, I don't even have this many followers, and I really put in so much work in my content, and
Yeah.
you're out here just no filter, no nothing,
Yeah.
just
Just being
posting
you.
your stuff, just being you.
Hmm.
And that's opportunity, because this is a person who has the gadget that
Hmm.
could change their life, but they
Life.
just don't know
Yeah.
it. Like you
Definitely.
find someone like that who has like thousands of viewers, but they
Mm.
don't know anything about influencing. Like they're just talking about, yeah, I ate food at mama's
Yeah.
place and this, and they don't know that they could get paid for
Correct.
influencing for that person. So I like that you mentioned it in that way, and I'm hoping that it's something like the realization of everything that I have comes to
Mm.
fruition. Yeah. And do
I've
you have
heard.
anything that you would want to say to any girl out there who is listening right now?
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. A girl listening. Lately, again, like I said, I've been in such a self-reflecting mode. So
Mhm.
I would definitely say, stay true to yourself, believe in yourself, allow yourself to dream big,
Yes.
and, don't compare yourself to someone else or other girls out there, but allow yourself to be inspired rather.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, and yeah, just, be happy, and understand that sometimes things might not go the way you're picturing it, but everything will work out, just as it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And also don't let society pressure you into, what you should be doing. And
Yes.
yeah, so that's my main, because lately I've just seen so much in terms of, just so much pressure on women. When are you getting pregnant? When are you marrying? When are you
Yo,
I'm just like,
yo, you can
guys,
never
can
win
we
with
leave?
society.
Yeah, can we leave
Just after
women?
you finally get married, like, where's that child?
Where's
Where's
the
the second
child?
one? Why are you not working? Like,
Oh my goodness. It's so much
yes,
pressure and so
yes,
much
yes,
pressure on a woman.
yes. That's very true. Very
So
true.
yeah, that's my advice.
Thank you so much. I'm speaking to you. I can get what your dad said. You are definitely someone who should have studied psychology because you are emotionally intelligent. I can tell.
Thank you
So
so
thank you
much.
so much, Melissa. And I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Thank you for
Yep.
having me. Again, I'm
Okay.
super happy with what you're doing.
Thank
My
you.
utmost respect. I know starting something and, especially in the beginning stages, there's so
Yes,
many
there is.
challenges. So
Yeah.
I always respect, a woman that is trying to impact the
Thank
world
you.
in their own way. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for saying that. Please help me spread the word by sharing our episodes with your friends, family, and followers. Let's amplify the voices of women, break barriers, challenge stereotypes, and create a network of support and empowerment. Together, we can bring about positive change and make this world a better place for all. This is She Center, the female podcast, where women's stories matter. I love you all. God bless.